I wonder how many of us have had a friend who's given us advice which at the time seemed really useful and good advice. But then, looking back, with what we call hindsight, wasn't very good advice at all. Have any of us ever had that experience? Friends given advice, but it sounded plausible. It really sounded good, but actually it wasn't. Well, in a sense, that's exactly the situation the church in Corinth were facing in the passage that's just been read to us from 1 Corinthians 12, verses 1 to 11. Something very similar was happening there. There were leaders in the church who were saying things which sounded quite reasonable, sounded quite plausible, but actually were complete nonsense. And the things they were saying were all in relation to the Holy Spirit. Now, the sort of thing that they were saying is that some of these people were saying, actually, a true gift of the Holy Spirit is always absolutely sensational, really miraculous. So if God's doing something by his Spirit, it's absolutely unbelievable, great power and great show, and everybody will see it. And that is the only way in which the Spirit works. That's what they were saying. They were saying things like, if somebody comes under the control of the Holy Spirit, that they're not in control of themselves, they're sort of taken over by this Spirit. And again, it wasn't true. They were saying that actually these gifts of the Spirit only came on those Christians who are really spiritually mature. And in fact, they're adding to that and saying, and of course, if you're not displaying these gifts, then you're not spiritually mature at all. Fortunately, there were some other people in the church who wrote to the Apostle Paul and asked him about this. And the passage we've just had read to us is his answer to this problem. And if we're to understand it, there's something really important we've got to recognise. And that is, there is a difference between the gift of the Spirit, singular, the gift of the Holy Spirit, and the gifts of the Holy Spirit, plural, numerous gifts. There's a difference between those. And verses 1 to 3 is all about the first one, the gift of the Holy Spirit. It's actually God's Holy Spirit who brings us to faith. And it's that gift of the Holy Spirit, singular, that Jesus was talking about in John chapter 14, where he says, I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate who will never leave you. He is the Holy Spirit who leads you into all truth. The Holy Spirit is given by God and leads us into all truth. When Jesus in Matthew 28, right at the end of Matthew's Gospel, he's leaving his disciples, he's going into heaven, and he says to them, I will send you another comforter who will be with you to the end of the age. He's talking about the gift, singular, the gift of the Holy Spirit. And actually, when in the book of Romans, Paul writes about the Holy Spirit in Romans 8 verse 9, he says, and remember that those who do not have the Spirit of Christ living in them do not belong to him at all. It is the role of the Holy Spirit of God to bring us to faith. I've got some pictures to show us. And the first picture, if we can just put that up for the presentation. Yeah. There is an old friend of mine from a long time ago baptizing a lady in the river in India. That lady was brought up not in the Christian faith. She was not brought up as a Christian at all. She and many people in her village heard the Christian gospel. She came to faith. She realised it was true. She wanted to change her life, and so she got baptised. And coming along to watch her, there would be people from the church, but there would also be people from her village, family members and friends who wouldn't believe it. who really didn't like it. The question is, why would she make such a public display? It's because the Spirit of God had worked in her life and convinced her that these things were really true. It's the work of the Spirit of God that brings us to faith. So this morning, those of us who are here, who are Christian believers, we are Christian believers because of the gift singular of the Holy Spirit. It's the gift of the Spirit that's brought us to faith. Just think about it. Why is it that brothers and sisters can grow up in one home, maybe a Christian home, they can have the same church experience, they can grow up being told and understanding the gospel and seeing it in their parents, and some of them come to faith themselves and others don't. And as they go on in life, some follow Christ and some don't. Why? What's the difference? They all had the same start in life. The difference is the gift of the Holy Spirit. So verses 1 to 3, it's talking about the gift of the Holy Spirit. Verses 4 and 5 onward are talking about the gifts, plural, more than one, that the Spirit gives. What we see is that there are many gifts, different gifts given to different people. And the key point to remember is God does not want Christians to be clones. That's a big word. What do we mean by clone? What is a clone, anyone? What is a clone? Yeah, go on. Yeah, brilliant. Being duplicated and doing the same as everybody else. An exact copy. God never wants people in his church to be clones of one another. You know, being a Christian means you look like this, you do exactly this. God didn't want that. God doesn't want us to be clones. And what he does in this, what Paul does in this passage, is he gives us, tells us 5 things about these gifts, the different gifts that God gives to different people, because he doesn't want us all to be the same. And to help us to follow these, that's why hopefully when you came in, everybody was given a picture of a hand, yeah, on a piece of paper, and we've got a pencil, if it helps to write in. I'm going to cover 5 things that Paul says about the gifts, plural, of the Spirit. Let's show the hand, the first one, if we may. Next picture, next slide. All right, that's the hand. Let's add the first heading. Next picture. Yeah. Thing about the gifts is they are gifts. We don't deserve them. They're not something that we worked for. Now, another question for you. Who here, looking a long way back to Christmas, worked for their Christmas present? Anyone? Alan did, because Alan worked for everybody in his house's Christmas presents. But generally, we don't work for our Christmas presents, do they? They're a gift. They are just given. Who here, looking back to your birthday, who here had to work for your birthday present? Anyone? Another one who's in charge of the house and earns all the money and saying works at everybody's. But generally, no, they're given to us as a gift. In the same way, God's Spirit gives us gifts. And the gifts that God's Spirit gives us are the right ones for us. Think about the birthday present. Normally, when we get a birthday present that's given by a member of our family, we open it up and it's just what we want. Because they know us and they want the best for us. So they give us the gift that suits us and we're delighted to receive it. That's what God does by his Spirit. Just think about that. Which boy would want his younger sister's birthday present? No boy's going to want younger sister's birthday present. But younger sister's birthday present is great for younger sister, but not for older boy. God gives different gifts to different people because he knows what we want. So first one, we don't deserve our gifts. Second one, if we go on to the next picture, we don't choose our gifts. They're just given to us. We don't say, I'd like that one, please. Does that sound unfair? Well, think about it. Another question. Who here chose their own name? Anyone? Anyone choose their own name? No. You didn't, surely. No. We don't choose our own name. I never got up one morning and thought, I'd like to be called Neil. I just was called Neil. My parents gave me that shortly after I was born. I had no choice in it. We don't choose what gifts we're given. They are just given to us. The next one, there are lots of different gifts. And in our passage, it mentions loads and loads of different gifts. It's got there the ability to give wise advice. That's a gift. Special knowledge is a gift. Great faith, that's the ability to really trust. That's a gift. Healing is given as a gift. The ability to prophesy, i.e. to look at situations and see what is God's will in this. It's just given as a gift. The ability to discern whether a message is from the Spirit of God. That's a gift. The ability to speak unknown languages can be a gift. The ability to interpret languages. These languages, it's said to be a gift. It's quite a long list we're given. And do you know what? In other parts of the New Testament, we're given other lists. Sometimes those lists include some of these things and others. Sometimes they don't have all these things. They're different lists. Why are we given different lists of the gifts of the Spirit? Well, basically, I think they're illustrative. They're examples of the sort of the ways in which the Spirit can gift us. And there's a large number. There are lots and lots of different gifts. The next thing is all Christians have at least one gift. Verse 7 of our reading said, a spiritual gift is given to each of us. So every Christian believer has a gift given by the Spirit of God. One is given to each of us. So, if everybody looks at the person next to them, if that person is a Christian believer, they have a gift of the Spirit of God. They have a gift. That's quite important. When Paul wrote to a young Christian Timothy, in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 4, he said to him, do not neglect your gift. Like all of us who are Christian believers, Timothy had a gift. Paul's advice to him, to a young Christian, is don't neglect your gift. And then when he wrote a second letter to him, to Timothy, he starts by telling him to fan into flames the gift God has given you. Really to use that gift. That's really important. All of us have a gift. It's our responsibility to use our gift and to develop it. And that links to the final point. And the final point is, these gifts that are given to us by the Spirit are not just for us. They're not given just for our benefit. It's not like my birthday present. I might be given a lovely jumper for my birthday present. And it keeps me warm, but it's not really good to anybody else. No, these gifts, spiritual gifts, are given not just for our good, but for the good of the whole church. Verse 7 says, these gifts are given to each of us so we can help each other. This is where I need a bit of help. I need a bit of help from our younger children. I don't know where we stop, but it's the younger children who could come and help by putting the pictures to complete my picture. I'd like us to put these in, please. Take one of these and put them in place. Can you do that? Anybody come forward? Anybody else? All very welcome to do so. Yeah? Okay, if I put them down here, can you pick them up and put them into place? There's a few there, or you take them off there, wherever you want, yeah? Yeah, take one, put them into place in here now. Can you match them up? Yeah, you come help, yeah, that's great, come and help. That's good. You just find the right shape. Yeah, we've got a lot of helpers now, that's really good. So we're putting our little pieces all into our puzzle to complete our nice picture. It's got lots of animals on it. There we go. And there's one. Where's that going? That goes there. And we hold it up. We've got a nice picture. And what do you notice? Yeah? There's one missing. It's not complete, is it? Thank you very much. Do you want to go and sit down? That's brilliant. Well done. We're all given gifts. They're here for the benefit of the church. We're to use them. If we don't, the picture's incomplete. It's only when we all use our gifts that we complete the picture. Go on, Oliver. You can put that last one in while I finish off. Well done. We've all got a picture of a hand in front of us. Just below that, there's a couple of questions. What is my gift? And how am I using my gift? What I suggest is we take those home. We think about that prayerfully during the week, because as Christian believers, we all have one of the gifts, plural of the Spirit. At least one. At least one. Right. Whilst Oliver finishes the puzzle, or whatever he's doing there,